Five, four, three.
Good evening, and welcome to the Reel McCoy. I'm your host, Meffistoe, now in the correct spot. And always with me, my hetero life mate, Oh My Feelings. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, buddy. How you doing?
I'm good. What is the Reel McCoy, you might ask? The Reel McCoy is your weekly movie podcast where we ask you to go watch a movie, watch it, come back to us, and we break it down for you. This week, we continue our new horror films, right? Not real, like regular horror films. We're talking about the newer kind of horror films on deck. And we chose, or you kind of chose, Barbarian.
Yeah, I kind of built this list.
Yeah, I know. And to talk to us about it is the lovely and luscious Nadia. How are you?
I'm good. This is going to be fun. I revisited this movie recently, and it's one of my favorites of 2022. I think a lot of people slept on it, similar to other movies like Smile and Nope. So I'm very excited to talk about this because when I went in to watch this the first time, completely not what I was expecting at all, which is great.
There's oddly a weird connection between Jordan Peele and the director of this film as well. So
yeah. Interesting. All right, cool. So guys, if you're in the chat, please go to the description down below and subscribe to Nadia. She is yay close to getting that 1,000. Yay close.
Yes.
We wanna push her over the top. Just not with the hand. Never mind. You haven't seen it Over the Top, have you, Nadia?
Stallone film. Bad movie.
No.
Because I've been watching a little bit about like your channel and what you do on X, and we didn't really have time to talk about things backstage. But I wanted to ask you about this: is the fact that you're a horror specialist, but there are like staple movies that you've never seen before, and
Yes,
now you're literally going back into the past and watching this, and you are my favorite demographic, and Oh My Feelings knows this, and people who who are watching this show every single week know this, that this is exactly who this show is all about. So please, how did you get to going back into the past and revisiting stuff? Because I really want to know.
There are some staples I did not see growing up. When I was growing up, my mom was a big time horror fan, so I saw a lot of horror movies. I've seen Child's Play, Hellraiser, Halloween, Friday the 13th, all that stuff. There are other movies I haven't seen, so I never saw any of the Alien movies. Recently saw all of them. I've never seen Terminator 1 and 2. Recently saw both. Saw Predator. So I'm making my way through a list. I have also Full Metal Jacket, which I have to watch. And I'm trying to pull up the list because I have it ongoing. And I'm working my way through. I've seen RoboCop. I've seen Demolition Man.
I've seen it 2 days ago, and my kids did not like it at all.
Really? I thought it was, I don't want to say better than RoboCop. I thought it was more fun than RoboCop, in my opinion. Yeah.
It's brilliant. And if you really get into
as an aside, Meph, too, she's mentioning most films that we've actually reviewed.
Judge Dredd's another one I haven't seen yet. I haven't seen
Judge Dredd or
Dredd.
Neither. I've seen neither.
There's a big difference between the two. Trust me.
I know.
Watch both. And you can see the big contrast between the two. It's actually very interesting going back and going to see
Sylvester Stallone and Armando Sante trying to be Sylvester Stallone in Judge Dredd.
I've never seen any of the James Bond movies except for one, Skyfall. So I plan on.
You're not missing anything.
I just recently saw Blade Runner, and I still have to see Rocky. So that's another one.
Okay.
Yeah, and Casino. I live in Vegas. I might as well see Casino.
Yeah, Casino.
Another movie we've covered.
Great movie. Oh, the movie's so good.
All right, cool. So Barbarian. Barbarian is a movie that I've never heard about. Like, I am not, as everyone may know, as I'm not I'm not good with horror. Not because I don't like, not because I'm afraid or I don't care for scary movies. It's just that it's not my favorite genre. I can watch it. I watched all the staples. I've even watched them when I was a little bit too young to watch them, but it's all good. So Barbarian was not in my radar. So this was the first time I actually sat down and watched it. And I didn't like it. So today's conversation is going to be very interesting. So before we get into the stuff, we'll say hello to everybody from the Salty Nerd Podcast. Welcome with your raid. Sit back, relax, enjoy, because it's time to open the show with a little segment we like to call Behind the Screens.
Sound production, take 2.
Behind the Screens is where we turn to all my feelings and get the lowdown on everything that is behind the scenes, production-wise. Take it away, dude. I hope you have more notes than I have, because there's few.
I do. I have some good notes in there.
All right.
One thing I just wanted to say, as a behind the screens for the podcast itself, Nadia, Meph and I have been going back and forth over the last couple of weeks about how you keep saying, like, I don't like this movie. I don't like this movie. And then it released me like, I don't know if it's just me, but people seem to really like this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, for Barbarian? Yeah, a lot of people like this movie. I think it was a refreshing new take on something. The marketing behind it did so well on hiding the twist of it. And I think as long as you didn't know the twist going in, it was enjoyable. I think it falls off in the third act, to be honest, in my opinion, towards the end. But I think the build up to it in the first and second are great. Oh, Vex agrees with me. It brings down, the ending brings it down.
Well, welcome, Vex. Yes, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. All right, take it away, sir.
Okay, so let's talk about financials first. $4.5 million budget, which only got increased. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Why it got increased, but it made $45 million.
Wow.
Yeah, it made a
10-time return on investment. It did extremely well.
Yeah, sort of like the movie we discussed last week, Radio or Not, also did
extremely well. which
Yeah.
also is very sad. Meth, how we talked last week, they should make a sequel. They're making a sequel.
What? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Oh,
really don't think they should.
They shouldn't. They shouldn't have made a sequel of Smile either. And I just saw that.
No,
this
yeah,
second.
yeah.
Yeah.
I saw, even Vex, I
Um,
saw her on Twitter. It's like, yeah, it's like you should not have done Smile. And you did no justice. And Smile is on the list along with Long Legs, which I am dying.
Long Legs is so good.
I have it. I need to find the time.
So good.
What month was Barbarian released? Do you have that?
No, I don't.
Can't remember.
Actually.
Well, my feelings we'll keep going. I will check
Okay.
it.
Okay. Well, really, this was really inspired by Zach Cregger, who wrote and directed the film, and actually he's in the film later on. We'll get to that when he actually shows up. But it was heavily inspired by the novel The Gift of Fear. And The Gift of Fear is about essentially a woman's intuition about her constantly ignoring red flag after red flag after red flag as she approaches a situation. And he kind of wanted to make a twist on that inherent narrative where we get all those kind of red flags from Keith immediately.
Yeah.
We'll discuss that as we discuss the film.
Mhm.
But actually, Cregger actually had the entire story an almost paint by numbers thriller, where Keith was supposed to be in the end. He was actually a squatter the whole time. And that was supposed to be the entire narrative. But he actually got frustrated writing it because he found it boring, because it was too on the nose. So that's when he developed the twist of Mother and Frank in the backstory of the house.
Oh, you know what? That kind of confirms my gut feeling about this. Okay. Keep going. Okay.
So oddly, Barbarian was actually just the placeholder title for the longest time, and he just couldn't think of a better name. So he went with it.
You probably have it in your notes.
We're gonna get to what the meaning behind that a little bit too.
Okay.
So Zac Efron was actually the original choice to play AJ.
Okay.
Flatly refused the role.
Even though he does have a little bit of a relationship with A24, right? Or is
but it's not A24. A24 actually turned this down.
Interesting.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
yeah.
Got it. Right.
Yeah. And we're going to get to that in a minute too.
Okay.
During principal photography in 2021, the head founder of Logical Pictures, which is actually a French film company, he died of cancer during the production, during principal photography. So they freaked out. They had no idea if they were going to actually lose backing or not. But New Regency came in and picked it up. New Regency is owned by Fox. So that's why Fox is the distributor of the film.
Yes, Fox Searchlight, basically. Yeah. So it's if you think about it, it's Disney's sidearm, where it used to be like Touchstone or any of those companies, Miramax, basically.
Yeah. And what's interesting too is originally the budget was only $3 million, but Searchlight bumped it to 4.5.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which typically, like when you come in and pick up a project, you lower the budget because you're saving the project. So they're going to cut corners. No, they just increased it by 15%. That's weird.
I believe all practical effects too, for the most part, throughout this.
Yes, actually, everything in the film. My next note. Thank you, Nadia. Excellent segue. All the effects in the film were completely practical, except for the grass in the flashback scene, because they couldn't get the grass to grow properly to separate.
Okay. Yeah. I have a background in special effects makeup. I worked in Hollywood for like 13 years. So when I see stuff that's done with practical effects, it makes me very happy. It actually makes me support the movie even more so than doing something and just having CGI. Because to me, CGI should be in post to help.
Definitely.
Maybe, yeah, instead of we're going to just CGI everything.
Yep. We're big fans. In fact, I think I turned Meth into a big fan of Mr. Savini.
Oh,
the godfather of special effects. Yep.
Yes.
I'm a big fan.
Well, except for,
I think
Don't
Paul Harley
understand
kind of
which
revealed
was-
himself. Whoever uses the moniker ROI, I kind of know where you're coming from, dude. But yeah, they got a great return on investment for sure.
So how Mother was created and the way that they shot it was interesting. It was kind of made almost piecemeal, and it had several different iterations while they were working through it. The
Mm.
first actual iteration of it, they thought it looked too cartoonish because its teeth were too big and its mouth was actually a gape more. So they actually had a practical effect like jaw that was extended outward to make it look more monstrous.
Mm.
But they dialed it back, and it also helped with his name is Matthew Patrick Davis, who plays Mother. Funny story about him. He had no idea. He had no idea what he's going to be in for practical effects, what kind of makeup work he was going to be in at all. He just signed on for the role.
Yeah, and he was his audition was on Zoom while he was on a plane to Bulgaria.
Area. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you don't know me, but All My Feelings knows this. I love these little pieces of information that is like wild, and how movies actually get made is sometimes so random. It's just hilarious and it's especially when it's movies that are like low budget and they made so much money and they were built off of a Lego of mistakes.
Yeah,
like I
pretty
mean,
much.
the Terrifier franchise is a great example on that. From
Yeah.
where they started with the low budget to, I mean, now being the #1 movie in the United States right now. That's a pretty
Yep.
big deal.
Which is utterly blows my mind as a fan of the series from when it was on was it All Hallows Eve, was that the compilation. Saw it first there, then Terrifier and Terrifier 2, and I'm like, okay, they're gonna make Terrifier 3. They're actually gonna do a theatrical release. I don't know if that's gonna go so well. Well, apparently I was wrong.
I went to see a double feature of 2 and 3 together the
Oh.
night it was the pre-night. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
3 is something. It is
Yeah,
definitely
it is.
something.
I watched 1 and I don't want to watch it anymore.
To be
I
honest,
told
I
you.
didn't. I don't like 1, and I don't like most of 2. I like only the third act of 2, and I somehow really enjoyed 3 for some reason. So, I feel you. It's not for everyone.
It is definitely not for everyone.
You know what? If there's a genre within horror that I just don't want to watch it, is gore porn. It's
Yeah.
especially after last year. Especially after last year. I can't take it. I can't take it. I didn't like it in like before, but now it's like I'm good. I'm good. Frighten me some in some different direction. I'm good with bodies and shit. Sorry.
Yeah. Gore, to me, because working in it, I look at it, my brain goes, how did they do that? Versus being freaked out or disgusted by it. Because my mind goes, okay, that's a prosthetic. Okay, that's where the seam line is. So that's where my brain goes. To me, religious theology horror based around theology and stuff, that's the genre of horror that terrifies me. Demons and all that kind of stuff.
The Exorcist,
Yes.
Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stuff like that. That's a little bit more grounded.
Okay. Okay. Grounded.
It's okay.
In contrast, you mentioned that you work in makeup. In contrast, the whole Kevin Bacon and the arrow through the chest was like, that's okay. That's fine with me. I'm good with that. But Terrifier is
when it's excessive.
To me, Saw is the moment where it okay, you lost me.
He would not want to watch Terrifier 2. No.
Have
There's
you
one
seen
kill in there that
Hostel?
lasts about 15 or so minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bedroom scene.
Yeah.
I've avoided Hostel.
Hostel. That's
I played the game Hostel.
Yeah, no, avoid Hostel if you don't like that kind of stuff. To me, Saw's not where it started with the whole gore porn in a sense, like really over the top stuff. To me, that's Hostel.
Hustle, yeah,
started that kind
really.
of
It
trend.
was really Roth who started the trend, and it kind of just went on from there.
Yeah.
But anyway, on the note about the mother and the different iterations and everything, when you can see during shot with the way that mother moves, that's actually the like how the arm will kind of slink forward and move to forward to cover the crotch a little bit. I'm glad that you mentioned it,
Oh,
Nadia, because he was given direction like, no, the seam started to show during filming. Cover it with your arm.
Okay.
interesting. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to go back and now just watch mother scenes to see this. That's okay. Yeah, I mean, when you're a low budget horror film and you're making a movie like this with practical effects, you got to work around things, try to make things work on set. Just like the grass not growing when weather interrupts you. Yeah. There's a lot of-
Um, I couldn't find locations. Do you have any locations? Because it wasn't in Detroit.
Yeah, well, actually, the outside, the exterior shots were filmed in Detroit. So,
Oh,
like skyline scenes and actually some of the street locations are actually shot there. Just more exterior shots. Anything interior, and some of the actual like, the tower scene that shot in Bulgaria.
Bulgaria. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I mean, some of the Eastern Bloc are really good with in terms of, first of all, it's cheap.
Well,
Yes,
that's
back
it's
to
super
labor
cheap,
too.
and they also like
Labor is cheap.
tax is really extremely low. So you basically have to pay. Well, Nadia, you could speak more to it because you worked in the industry for so long.
Yeah,
Tax credits back and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's the whole point of your some of the equipment you don't even have to carry from LA to Bulgaria. There's some equipment there, especially in Bulgaria. I know that's a few Israeli movies were shot there because they didn't have to move with a lot of equipment, just basic lighting and all that stuff. And they had all the cameras there, like high end, all that stuff is already there for productions to just rent out and just do your thing. Plus, they have great big studios if you need, especially
So
in
do they
Bulgaria.
have like a town that is just set there that they do a lot of productions
really.
to?
It's
Okay.
not like Hollywood where you have like studio towns, but I know there are a few locations in Bulgaria that you could do exterior and interior shots. So it's weird that you say that because it came up for something that I checked. But yeah, you can rent stuff there, and it's as high end as you can get. Maybe not like top like 8K craziness, but you don't need it for a movie like this.
Mm-mm.
I think it was shot at 4K, but as a default, I think, right? Nowadays, it's default for the big screen that you have to shoot at 4K. Plus, the conversion to whatever Blu-ray or any streaming service that's easy just
Yes,
makes it
the
easier.
only thing that was different was the most of the film is shot in widescreen. The flashback to 80s, if you notice the
Yeah.
shot composure change.
Yeah, I had it on screen for a little bit. It went
Yeah.
back to a 4:3 because it wants to show you, oh, this is the 80s.
Mhm.
So it was shot, and that way. So sort of a, artistic choice, which is okay, I guess.
Kind of
You
like
have to
Late Night
give
with
Zach
the
Cregger
Devil.
like sorry, Nadia, go ahead.
Sorry. I was similar to earlier this year, Late Night with the Devil, how they
Yes,
brought it down. It's yeah.
that was almost on the list, but I didn't know if Meth could get it or not.
Yeah, some movies I can't really get.
Okay.
It's
A
really
little
good though.
tiny difference, but you can see the sides are just clipped, and it makes it 4:3.
It
That's it.
almost feels like in these scenes, because of how bright the colors are and because it's so compressed on the screen, it almost, to me, it makes it uneasy. Like as a viewer, I feel very uneasy with those, especially as the story has progressed, just because it comes off like, oh, very, white suburbia, very, family oriented, this, people don't lock their doors. But
Yeah.
because of how bright it is and compressed, it makes me so uneasy watching those scenes.
And that's why I think Zach Cregger and sorry, I forgot who their director of photography was in this film. But the way how they worked in tandem when it came to that almost surreal feeling of the juxtaposition between the modern day and the 1980s shot.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have no idea who's the cinematographer, but I can check.
You're fine. But in the interest, just to
Zach-
move on a little bit
Zach
forward.
Cooperstein, if it matters.
Oh, okay. He works on a lot of A24 stuff.
Okay.
So, so we're talking about little funny bits. 476, the number 476, is interesting because Zach Cregger says, no, that's just an unintentional thing that was there. I didn't mean to have it there. That's actually the year that Barbarian sacked Rome.
Yeah. He
That's hilarious.
he vehemently denied
Nice.
it
That
had
he did it
anything
on
to do with
purpose.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as a funny bit, it's on Barbary Street. It's an Airbnb, so technically it is the Barbarian.
Barbarian. Yeah. It's sort of an anagram, but not really an anagram of Airbnb.
Maybe, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because he couldn't get it's just like a working title. And
Title stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
And all the rest of the stuff has kind of just come up when we actually get to the scenes.
all right, cool. So let me do a little bit of a breakdown on what we're gonna discuss before we head off to our next segment. Is first of all, the movie has its regular 3 acts, but it's not divided in terms of time wise. It's not divided equally, I would say. We have the Tess and Keith story that kind of ends and then flows into the AJ story, and then it comes back around to do this 3rd act. So it's about 40 minutes, right? Roughly around 40 minutes, and then 25 minutes. And then we have that little gap where you have the story from the 80s where it doesn't really go anywhere, but it comes back around when you see the explanation on the real 3rd act. Sort of that's how the movie starts. But how the movie kind of is constructed. And it starts off with that story of Tess and Keith where Tess comes in. She has an Airbnb. She can't get into the house. She knocks. She does whatever. And as she gets frustrated, she sees a light comes up and a strange man opens the door for her. Now, as soon as we see Bill Skarsgård, to me, it's just the fact that he's been cast in different things as well. The best one is It. I think everybody knows him as It, but he has a makeup on It. And he recently was on The Crow, which really didn't affect this movie particularly.
Also, we don't want to talk about that Crow. Please don't. Please.
I'm not talking about that Crow.
Bad.
Garbage. I still need to watch it. I don't wanna.
You really don't need to. You don't. I would save your time.
But the
Hot
fact
take, I wasn't a fan of the first one, so I'm definitely not going to watch the reboot.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, if you didn't like the first one or City of Angels, which I think is the better one.
interesting, and you're both wrong. No, just kidding. To me, it's just the fact that I kind of know this actor immediately invokes, oh, he's there's vibes with Keith. And I think Zach, when he actually cast him into that role, he was going for it because that's the whole idea, because that's what he not lifted, but it was inspired from the book of the girl who was like, oh, there's red flags going off everywhere, but she's not listening to them. This is actually the opposite, where Tess is extra careful and extra not willing to trust. And Keith, even though he's really, seemingly very strange, he's aware of the red flags that are going on.
I think that's what actually kind of makes him feel kind of weird. Nadia, correct me if I'm wrong on when it comes to this kind of assertion, though. I think because he knows that she feels awkward. He's trying to be more accommodating, and that's making him seem even weirder.
Yeah, especially the wine scene where
Yeah.
he waits for her not to open up the bottle of the wine. There's like an awkward dialogue between the two of them, and he just continues to, in a sense, like rant, makes it even more awkward. Where at the core, he's just being a nice guy, trying to make sure that this woman doesn't think he's going to do anything to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of starts with him offering her tea, and she doesn't want to accept it. And like, you want to think, even though some of the viewers, some of us are male, we can understand why she is so apprehensive and not accepting any drinks, especially with the Bill Cosby stuff going on. This is very much self-aware of the audience watching this thing. So it's very much catered to, I hate to say modern audience, but yeah, modern.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
No, I hate it.
Yes.
But it is catered towards that. Yes, it's a single woman going out into this kind of a rough neighborhood, even though she can't really tell it's a rough neighborhood. But going alone and having to spend a night with a strange guy, no matter if he's giving her the willies, right? Or he's just a nice dude. She's still apprehensive. And even when she is sitting down and they're like, he is opening the wine in front of her, she still doesn't want to have the wine because I'm guessing she doesn't want to have alcohol in her system. Make sure she's not, susceptible to anything.
Yeah.
That also too, I think that she actually kind of relents once they have that common ground when they talk about the film. And then also when she sees him open the bottle of wine, the full cork actually popping out, and then him drinking the wine, where she realized that, okay, it hasn't been laced with anything. Otherwise he wouldn't drink it.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
I just, as a woman myself, I can always say, I would have never went in that house. I would have slept in my car. I would have driven my car somewhere else, just slept in my car for the night and then figured it out. I mean, at the end of the day, this guy is still a stranger to you. This is very risky, man or woman, who's, you don't know this person. You don't know their background. You don't even know if what their name is their real name that they're telling you. So.
Well, the convenient excuse that he has too, where it's like, well, you really shouldn't go out to your car. You shouldn't sleep out in your car like this because this is a very rough neighborhood. And then also, oh yeah, there's a big convention going on in town. Well, he knows this because he lives there, but to her, it just seems like another excuse to get her not to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a whole exchange where she's trying to find another hotel room, but she can't get it. And he slips in that piece of information, which is sort of like, oh, where did how did you know this piece of very important information that kind of keeps me in this house? And that whole story, that whole exchange keeps going and going and going. And even when she finds his wallet in the bedroom he was occupying, she flips it open and she actually takes a photograph, like a picture on her phone of his driver's license, in order to maybe do a little bit of research or make sure this guy who really is who he says he is. And the problem is there's nobody to talk to. So if you've been to an Airbnb and you got to that position, I had it in April in Las Vegas. It was not pretty, not be able to reach the individuals. We had a different issue.
Oh, that's right. Oh, Miss Meth. Yeah, she messaged me about that. Yeah. Okay. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, it was an issue. It was sorted out by us staying put. That's basically what it was.
But this first act does so well in making you feel uneasy with Keith, even though he's coming across as a good guy. Really, honestly, logistically, he's doing everything right? He's trying to keep his distance. He's making sure he's not opening the wine before her. He's trying to offer her some tea, gives her the bedroom so she can lock the door. So he's doing everything right, but because of Skarsgård's presence, it's still uneasy, which I think is so well put because of the twist that comes following when we get to there.
And the let's say the good thing about this whole thing, because I personally I thought this went on a little bit too long. This whole 40-minute part could have been a lot more snappier. I even when I did my review, I released it a few days ago, I specifically said they could have sliced and diced it to about 30 minutes. They could have cut away 10 minutes off this. However, they didn't, because the movie would have been, I think, less than 90 minutes. I think.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm all for bringing movies back to 90 minutes, to be honest.
fine,
Just 2 hours and more. My bladder can't handle it in the theater. It's like, come on.
Yeah, it's not about the bladder. It's about how quickly you can like tell a story.
Yes.
And still you get all your different points across and still do it in 90 minutes, 95 minutes. Case in point, Ready or Not, 135. And it was, if you like take away all the credits and stuff,
Simply Nuts, I think it was 132. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy. And the first point of contention before we start our section is the moment where Zach Cregger shows us this scene to throw us off. This particular scene, I thought it was just a red herring, because she wakes up in the middle of the night, she hears voices, her door is suddenly open where her door was closed, and perhaps I think she locked it. I'm not sure if
she did. No, she comes back, she closes it and locks it then.
Okay, so she was locked, then it was open, she goes out, and Keith is having night terrors or like a bad dream or anything, and she wakes him up and he's afraid of her, and he doesn't know what the hell is happening, because suddenly she's there, she's waking him up. He's like, what do you mean I've been having bad dreams? And she's afraid because she doesn't know what the hell is going on, because the door is open, and they both are like miscommunicating, and then they just leave, and poof, we're on the next day.
Well, what's great too is the way that it's written. That's actually Keith has a moment where he's visibly angry with her, where it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? And also, like, as soon as she walks away, like, did you open my door? No, open your fucking door.
Yeah. And like I said, it's sort of a scene that kind of throws you off, because you were kind of half expecting him to play nice. Okay, he's lulling her to sort of a sense of half security. And then, okay, the nighttime, that's where he's going to pounce. But it kind of happens in reverse in a way, but not really, because nothing happens.
Yeah.
Because nothing happens.
It's interesting because going into this, you think the entire movie is just going to be about these two, and that one of them is quote unquote the villain or the bad guy in the movie. And I agree with you. That's a red herring that they throw in. There's a couple of red herrings they do throw in through the first 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then for the twist to happen, I was completely surprised by it. And it takes a lot to surprise me, because I usually can see things coming, especially with horror movies. Horror movies usually have the same kind of beats that they follow. And this just totally threw me off when the reveal happened.
And even in this, and it's a glimpse and you miss it, on the house, it says death from below.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I missed it. What to prepare for the show, I do go into like research about what's going on, and that's one of the things that got mentioned in the 10 things you didn't know about this, and an interview that I'm not sure if it was Zach Cregger or Georgina talked about the fact that we tell you what's going on, but you're gonna have to really watch the movie, which kind of adds to the fact that people would want to rewatch it in order to catch all these little, tiny Easter eggs or those points of reference where they point to you that something is off. And again, you mentioned, I mentioned red herring. You mentioned red herring. The other red herring is the fact that she goes out to this interview. Her supposed boss already says to her, "Look, you're living in a terrible neighborhood. I don't know why you went there." And when she comes back, there's a strange guy yelling at her, like, "Don't go in the house. Don't go in the house." And as she goes into the house, he kind of knocks a couple of times and then he leaves, and she's completely frightened. And it, again, throws you off in a different direction. And you're like, okay, we kind of know the neighborhood is bad. There's a strange man, which we didn't really see at first, kind of calling it to her not to go in the house. What is going on with this neighborhood? So that's like the first. The guy is the red herring, not the house, but yeah. All right, cool. Before we completely ramble on, we will do our first segment of the night. It is called Missing Marquee. Missing Marquee for Nadia and the uninitiated in the chat is where we take 10 posters of movies, have their text written off. We display them, and Nadia and the chat will have to guess which movie this is, and we will do this. Chat. We are counting on you. The thing is, Nadia,
I don't see movies.
the thing is,
this is actually a surprisingly good film too.
Is that Tom Cruise?
It is Tom Cruise.
90s Tom Cruise.
The answer is in the chat, but if you're not looking, it's good.
I'm not looking. I'm trying not to.
Yeah,
I don't want to cheat. I assume it's a lawyer movie.
It is a lawyer movie. It is called The Firm.
The Firm. Okay. I haven't. Should I add it to the list? Should I add it to the list?
Everything on these posters, you're gonna have to put on your list.
Okay. Hold on.
This is a movie that we skipped.
That's Nicolas Cage, right?
Yep.
I believe. I
Correct.
know this movie. I just don't know the title of it.
Two versions of him.
Yeah, he plays a double role. So he plays like twins.
Yeah. Double Trouble.
No,
sorry, that's an Olsen Twins movie.
No.
What do you do when you turn a film into a movie?
That is the correct answer.
I know it is.
All right, Nadia, you don't have a clue?
It's
Chat,
an adaptation.
It's
Adaptation. Okay. Oh, Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness is correct.
Batman and Robin.
No.
Oh.
That's Kilmer. Not Clooney.
Yeah.
Oh.
Batman.
Batman. It's not Returns.
It's not Returns. It's the third one.
It's the opposite of
Batman
Never.
Forever, I think.
Batman Forever is correct.
Okay. You lost me.
I lost you.
Oh, I think I actually know this one.
Adam Sandler in it. I don't know.
Because Jennifer Aniston is in this one. No. It's I just forgot her name. What's so odd is I would say it's the girl from Firestarter.
Yes,
Drew Barrymore.
Barrymore, yes. Yeah. And it's one of the girls back there is actually Bella Thorne. I think it's her in her first movie.
I think so.
Right. Feelings, do you know this?
Blended?
Blended is correct.
Wow. It's the one where he hears God's voice.
Well, it kind of becomes God.
It becomes God.
Yeah.
The second one, he hears God's voice. But that's Steve Carell.
Oh, no. I don't remember what. I've seen this. I think it's like the character's name.
Yes.
Escapes me. Bruce?
Bruce?
Right?
Yes.
I'm looking this way because I don't want to look in the chat because I know this is probably an easier one.
I'll make it easy for you, okay? It is Bruce Almighty.
Okay.
got Bruce. This is an oldie.
Is that
This
Mad
one is
Max? No.
Not Mad Max. No. It's even older than that.
Yep.
This is 1971. Paul, I can't believe you got it.
Yeah.
It's a Steven Spielberg movie called Duel.
Duel. I almost said Gone with the Wind because Gone with the Wind is one of my favorite movies of all time.
This particular poster is, in fact, inspired by Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know who the character is? It
Is
is
this
Face, but who's the
Yeah.
character?
is this like Vegas Vacation kind of?
No, it's not one of those.
Vacation? Okay.
Chat knows. We got it.
Yeah.
It is Fletch
Fletch
Lives. He plays a detective called Fletch.
Okay. I'll write that down. 300?
Not 300.
No, but it's not a bad guess. This movie's
Not a bad guess.
terrible.
This
It's
movie,
actually one of Henry Cavill's first roles.
correct.
Stephen Dorff is in this.
John Hurt is in this, I think.
Yeah, and I forgot who plays the villain. The actor played the wrestler. I can't forget.
Mickey Rourke?
Yeah, it's Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke was the villain in this. Yeah.
Really? I've
I
only
know it's
seen
not
this once.
Troy.
It's not
Hmm.
Troy, but it is about
Love that.
It's about the
one
Greek
of-
pantheon and the Titans.
yes. But it's not Clash of the Titans.
Okay.
That's Sam Worthington.
Yeah.
Well, at least the new one.
I don't know.
All right. Chat
It's
doesn't know. This
Immortals.
is Immortals.
Yeah.
Terrible
Interesting.
movie. Not
What
on
the
the list.
heck? What is wrong with his arms and shoulders?
It's the villain
Well-
alone.
I haven't seen a lot of Stallone movies, so
Okay.
I'm out.
You know what? This
Is this
one is
Rambo?
actually
I don't
worth
know.
it. This is not Rambo. No.
Okay. Which is another one on the list I have to see.
Although that would be a kind of an interesting take on Rambo because he did spend a little bit of time in jail.
Yes, but
Yeah.
Precede-
this movie is out of like the 80s stuff. This is sort of a side project. I think he did it before Tango and Cash. And it's a drama, actually. Oh, Tom's here.
Of course, it's Tom.
He's a prisoner. He's like in a minimum facility, but he gets transferred into max facility, and the warden gives him a lot of hell because they have a history, I think. And the warden is played by Donald Sutherland, and it's a fantastic movie.
Lock up.
It just
Okay.
doesn't get enough love. This one definitely on your list.
Okay.
That's
Just why is his head so small compared to his shoulders and arms in that?
because it's
Because it's a movie poster from the 80s.
Hello.
It was acceptable in the 80s. I mean,
Okay.
Stallone, and he took a lot of stuff.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like high drama rather than full on. Oh, it's Stallone. I'm gonna break out of prison. It's very different, and he does a great job. And by the way, First Blood, very much like that. Sort of like less action than you think, more drama.
There's
But-
really more. They really
So
cover
wait-
more about his PTSD in First Blood than they do in any of the other films.
What's
Yeah.
the
Let's
first Rambo
do it.
called? Is it called First Blood or is that the sequel?
First Blood is the first one.
Okay.
Rambo, the Rambo is called Rambo First Blood Part 2. It's basically
Oh.
Rambo 2,
Yeah.
and Rambo
Okay.
3 is Rambo 3.
Okay.
But yeah, First Blood is the first one. Go by the years. You'll see. You'll check it. You'll find out. All right,
It's
cool.
on the list.
It's even if you don't watch the second or third because you're like, I don't like action. Watch the first.
Okay.
Pretty interesting. We might cover it someday. Okay, so Tess comes back. Keith is gone. He left her a note. Even I think she sees the note before she goes to her interview, right? And then she comes back just to sort things out. And she kind of thinks, well, I'm going to, leave. But then she hears a noise and she thinks, wait a minute, is Keith here? She goes downstairs. She gets locked in the basement. Oh, shucks. But then she finds a rope and starts to pull on that rope.
Now,
And lo and behold, there's a secret door. Now, she got the vibes from Keith. We got the vibes from Keith. And what does she do? She does whatever a last girl in any horror movie ever does. She just goes in.
well, no, first she says, nope.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which
then
is a tie-in, which is so funny because we mentioned Jordan Peele before and Nope, because they were being almost shot almost at the same time. Zach Cregger and Jordan Peele are great friends, and they actually would critique each other's works.
Oh,
Oh,
like a little boys
so-
club. That's
Yeah.
cute.
interesting.
One question I had. The door being opened the first night. That's a plot hole that bugs me still. And also, how does the mother get out later on? Because you see that when the basement door closes, it locks from the outside, so you can't get out. How does she get back into the house to open the
Window?
door?
Mm. Maybe there's a tunnel we don't know of,
Yeah.
or a door, a secret.
I don't know. This is
Are we-
one of the things that were like rewatching it a couple of times this week. I'm just like, this is really sticking in my craw.
By the way, I wouldn't even go into the basement. You would not even catch me going down there. I'd be like,
See,
nope, nope.
see-
I'm out.
But-
Once you pulled on that door opened, and I was like, I'm 6'1" and I'm a bigger guy. Still, I'm like, no.
That ain't happening.
Nope.
And once she goes in, she finds a lit room with an old style camera and a bed.
A soiled
be-
mattress.
I'm out of this bitch. I don't care. I'm gonna break a window. I'm out of here. There's no way I'm staying here in this house ever again. Yet she falls into the fallacy of the last girl, which means, yeah, it's time to explore a little bit. Why not? But then, of course, she hears Keith, and she.
Oh no, Keith's not back yet because she goes back to the basement. She sees Keith outside the window. They actually she slips him the key. Then Keith comes in, and Keith being again another horror film trope, as you know, Nadia. Well, I'll go check it out. It can't. There's nothing that bad down there.
I've seen way too many horror movies that nobody would be able to catch me off guard. I'm like, nope, I'm out.
No, it's like no. So if you go there, you're gonna die. Just don't do that.
I still can't believe they went down there. And to me, it was like, I know the story needs to go someplace, but there's no way. After we saw what they went through last night with the whole, she is listening to her red flags. Why is this red flag not like popping in her head saying, don't go there?
Yeah. Why wouldn't she again where he's saying, don't worry about it. I'll go and check it out. And be like, okay, you go down there. I'm getting my shit. I'm getting in my Jeep. I'm going to drive back into the city to where my new boss, hopefully, is telling me I should go anyway because I shouldn't even be out here in the first place.
Yeah. And when they meet, we have that sort of a shocker moment that actually is the transition to the next, where the monster comes in, or the mother comes in, strikes Keith in the head, and cut to black. And we've got AJ on the PCH. Cool.
Listening to Ricky Tikki Tavi, I'm like, of all songs, what?
It was good to
By
see
the
Justin
way-
Long back, though.
Yeah.
First of all,
side note, what's really funny too is after the film was released, they were able to they did a alternate trailer that kind of proposed this as like Justin Long's new film, and then they showed more of the horror element to it.
I drove there. It's a great road to just drive, actually.
Isn't that just up
there's-
PCH?
There's a
What?
really great, if you go north towards Malibu, there's a really great, I don't want to say hole in the wall. It's called Neptune's Net, where you get like fresh seafood, oysters, and you have the ocean right there. Yeah, it's very nice.
We were actually doing the longer route to get to Fresno. We actually
Oh.
climbed through Malibu. Some of the roads were closed because apparently it rains in LA when we come to visit. It rained all throughout the visit except for that last day. But on the last day, we wanted to go through the winding roads of the canyons into Malibu. Yeah, that was closed due to mudslides. So
Yep.
we went the long way around, went down, connected with a different part of the PCH, and went all through, not like going up north, and then just we took a left at Pismo Beach. I am not even joking. And Nadia is like, what the hell is he talking about? You're not a Warner Brothers girl, right?
A little bit. A
Okay.
little bit.
If you know Bugs Bunny, you know what's taking a left at Pismo Beach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I've seen any Looney Tunes.
All right. But yeah, it's a great little. But this to me, this little part is the best part of the movie. Not this particular part, but AJ's story and how it progresses to me was the best part because they said what they needed to say, and we got to learn about the character as much as we needed to learn in those 20 minutes. And there was a good piece of writing because we all know what was going on in the Depp trial. We all know what was going on with the Weinstein trial, and a lot of other people that got, let's say, Me Too'd and then kind of forgotten, and then suddenly was like, oh, what about that guy? Oh, it's okay, it's fine, no charges. That guy, no charges. This guy, no charges. But in this case, AJ is being accused of impropriety and even a little bit more. I'm not going to get into it because, you know, the all dreaded yellow mark. And he's like, okay. And he's sort of shocked. And then he goes to his accountant, and his accountant is like, yeah, if you're going to trial, plus you're going to do like a defamation trial to boot, like countersue. Yeah, you're going to be running out of cash in about 3 months. Which kind of prompts AJ to say, well, I can sell my Michigan property. And the accountant's like, yeah, that's going to buy you only 2 months. And AJ's kind of, you know, I'm going to go to Detroit and sell off the property. And along the way, he kind of looks at the coming news, the story that they did. Which
and who wrote the article too, which is a
Who?
subtle.
Tell me who wrote the article, by the way.
The reporter who wrote the article was the same reporter who reported on the Harvey Weinstein allegations.
And more.
And more, yeah.
And to be fair, she got it wrong like 80%. But never mind. But yeah, it's a Kim Masters.
But what's interesting too is the little dichotomy that we see, and I think that they really did a great job by not having Zac Efron play AJ, because Justin Long seems so likable inherently. He has that kind of just almost the way that his cadence and how he carries himself. He seems like a likable person. He seems more empathetic than like Zac Efron being, you know, Zac Efron.
He's also like a small built dude.
Small built guy, yeah.
He doesn't come off intimidating.
Yeah.
You mean a douche.
Yeah. Well, I would say a real piece of shit, because AJ is a real piece of shit.
Yeah, but the whole point of AJ is that, and that's why it works with Justin Long, because he gets these allegations. If you're a partial to it, I was like I said, I was coming off not really, but the Depp trial was already in my mind. The fact that some of these guys were wrongfully accused, he's being accused. We don't know if it's right or wrong. So depending on which side of the aisle or which side of the coin you're flipping on, you're like, okay, maybe it's wrong. Maybe he didn't do it. We don't know, because Justin Long seems likable, doesn't seem like the type to be a douche. We kind of are on his side. He goes in, but doesn't act like he actually acts like a douche, really. Because when he goes to the office, he's being a little bit rude to just the receptionist. I thought he was rude to the receptionist, and when he was talking to the actual realtor, when he gets to the house itself, he's like,
fair, not really a realtor, more of a property manager at that point. But to be fair, the property manager is really shit at her job.
oh yeah.
So can't really get too upset with them. But again, I do love the immediate way, the polite way, the business etiquette that the property manager is actually maintaining, where she just goes, okay, well, you have a nice day. Hang up the phone. Oh, you're muted, buddy.
Muted.
Sorry, I had to mute because she was knocking on the door. What AJ is all about is like, yeah, I'm trying to sell this property, but I'm also like, I'm a Hollywood actor, so fear me.
Important. Yeah. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like big and stuff. It's interesting to me because I believe this was right around too where a lot of the backlash to the Me Too movement was happening when this movie was released. Like you said, with the Depp trial and stuff, which is really sad because I'm sure there are people who have victimized to that. I've worked in the industry, I've seen it. But then when you're fakely,
it goes both ways.
Yeah, when you're accusing someone and it's not real, that takes the weight off of the real victims when they come forward. Also makes real victims not even want to come forward because of how bad the backlash was.
Yeah. And to me, that's the whole point. And this is the position where AJ is, this, kind of entitled person, I would say. Maybe not well, he is a douche, but it kind of gets revealed as we go on. So he goes to this place. He's being.
Come on. We know he's an asshole with the way he talks to his mom. Okay.
You haven't heard me talk to my mom.
Well, no, this is like, well, sorry, Mom, I got to take a really important business call now. Hang up to talk to his friend. And what did he does first? He drops the other F-bomb.
Yeah.
Yep. Not a good dude.
I know.
And also when they go out to that club though, his friend Everett, that's Zach Cregger.
Where I was going to. That's the whole point. I was going towards that particular point. Is we're kind of on his side, but then he goes to this nightclub because his friend is there because he bought the property. I'm guessing because he is from there.
Yeah, because his mom says, well, Detroit's only a 4-hour flight. He's already there. He's not even going to go see his mother while he's in town.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's a bad son right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the whole point is they're talking and they're having, we'll call it a locker room talk. So they're not expecting it. Like they're pretty free. And AJ kind of slips and kind of says, well, I kind of, because they don't want to say no to me.
Well, Everett says, it's like, well, did she say no? Well, yeah, at first, but I'm really persistent where it's like, that's not, no.
AJ embodies the red flags that Tess should have was having with Keith. Like Keith is the opposite of it. Keith is actually the good guy, right? Just trying to make everybody comfortable, where AJ is the red flag, but because of his status people don't see that. Also by his like body language and he's a small guy. People don't see, oh, he can't be the red flag, where Skarsgård is like a 6 foot tall dude, has a presence, red flag. So it's very opposite. I don't know where I was going. I was ranting there. Sorry.
No.
That's okay.
I think this is why getting to cast Justin Long as opposed to Zac Efron, even though they're both smaller in stature, is a much better contrast for this particular movie.
What's interesting too?
Still don't like it.
Yeah.
Still don't like it. And people have to understand, when I say I don't like a movie and I think it's bad, that's my own perspective. There's a lot of debate going on today about Joker 2, where I saw an opinion which was very interesting. It's very close to what I think is like. I didn't like this movie. I didn't like this, and that about the Joker 2, but it doesn't mean the movie is bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's an opinion. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's very close to what I think, where I think it was tanked on purpose, but Todd Phillips did not make a bad movie.
I just always say, if I don't like a movie, it's not made for me. It's not for me. It's not what I find entertaining.
It's not necessarily bad. That's why I said the casting is good, the story beats are good, but as I was watching the movie, I wasn't enjoying it at all. I didn't enjoy the elements and the story that was told, especially because the first 40 minutes really didn't, was not there for me. But going back
for Joker, just as an aside, it's almost as if the first film wasn't supposed to be a Joker film whatsoever, because it wasn't.
Actually, I rewatched it on a plane ride back, and to me, Joker 1 doesn't hold up on the rewatch. And I kind of think some of these movies that we praise in the last 10 years, are we praising them because they're good movies, or are we just praising them because most of the stuff we've gotten has just been garbage? So the mediocre ones now are 10s, where they would have been like a 6, a 7.
Or maybe your expectations of it
are so low,
so different from what you got, which kind of in your mind is like, it's not. I expected something else, so it's not a 9, it's a 7.
I would say in the framing of gaming, most when you get IGN 7s, a decent game is a 10.
I know IGN. Don't get me started.
Yes.
So AJ.
Oh, I was going to say one thing real quick. What's interesting as an aside, Bill Skarsgård is actually 6'4". You notice that on his license for Keith, he's listed as 5'10".
Okay.
I know that whole family is very tall.
Yes, all the Skarsgårds, they're giant men.
Yeah,
they're giant Nordic men.
Yes, one of them actually played the Northman.
The Northman,
and the other one was actually in Vikings.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So AJ kind of discovers the basement, and I'm gonna push it a little bit further. Otherwise, we're gonna stay here all day.
I do say what's funny too is his entire bit of being such an asshole, doing with the tape measure, especially when he looks up like can basements be used as square footage? It's like, well, they can be added elsewhere. Oh yeah, bitch.
Yeah, this is where, like I said, it sort of, for me, it kind of turns once he has that conversation with his friends, where it's like, oh, you're an evil mofo, right? But then he has this whole scene where he goes down to the basement, he finds this rope, opens the door, finds this extra square footage, we'll call it that, and he's like, oh, I'm going to the cleaners on this property, right? I'm just going to claim this entire square footage. And that leads him into not only the room with the camera, but also the room with the
opening to the deeper
nursing
level.
lady, which I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna look for.
I
But
was
I'm
going to
gonna
say
be
that
very
actually did have that one big laugh out loud moment where he actually discovers the room with the soiled mattress and the camera. He bumps up against the mattress and his only response is "Ew."
Yeah,
Seriously?
yeah, that's the whole idea. He has a totally different reaction to the room than Tess does. Because
Well,
Surprised he
normal
didn't-
people would have
Sorry.
called the cops. Normal person would have just ran back upstairs and called the cops.
Yeah, but like I have no idea what's going on down here. We need somebody down here to look at it.
yeah,
Um,
and
what's odd too is I'm surprised he didn't say out loud, "Wow, maybe I should build one of these."
well,
Oh,
He's not a good person.
I know.
if the shoe fits,
Yeah.
and this one of the most surreal moments is actually this moment where he sees these cages. He has almost no reaction to them, but he still has that tape measure to measure out the square footage to make sure he's getting his bang for his buck on the property because he's so stressed out about this upcoming lawsuit. I want to highlight this. To be fair, this is Detroit, so the cops may not have come as fast as you hope.
That's true.
That is an actual truth that actually happens at the end. And I did mention it. I didn't like the character of Tess as the last girl. And I said, she is so unlikable, even the cops don't want to help her. You don't believe her. And that's that. I said it as a joke, but I kind of think that is kind of true. But yeah, so AJ gets to that weird room, and he still keeps going until he falls into the trap, sort of that pit, and he gets to meet Tess. And this is where the two stories kind of converge as we get this whole weird scene. Again, we saw that nursing scene before, and as the mother comes in, Tess is like, "You're gonna have to drink this," and she drinks from this old style nursing bottle, and you're like, "What is going on?" I'm obviously I'm not going to show it because YouTube is weird, and he's not going to do it, which causes this whole ruckus to go on. And she's the one that kind of saves the day of sort of giving in to the mother and making sure they live enough, because she just saw Keith getting his head bashed in a day before, I guess. Right.
What, just as an aside real quick, the bottle.
Yes.
The hairs on the nipple of the bottle were just an accident. They were brushed against the wig that was used on the costume, on all the practical effects.
Oh,
but okay. Zach Cregger saw that and it looked disgusting to him, so he kept them there on purpose.
Okay. I didn't even notice the hairs, to be honest.
You can see them when the bottle's going down to Justin Long. It's
okay.
It's gross.
I would almost say that the mother entirely throughout this whole movie is the real victim of the story.
Definitely.
Because of the background that we get on her, what she's had to gone through and stuff, where I think that's why Tess and AJ are the opposite, where as an audience, we're really not fans of those two, even though Tess is supposed to be the final girl throughout this movie.
Yeah. And once we get to that moment with Tess and AJ, where their two stories converge, then we have this sort of bit. I would actually call this a prologue, but it's not at the start of the movie. Sort of a prologue not really the end. So it kind of is a wedge between the second act and the third act, just so we understand who Frank is. Because later on, AJ kind of finds Frank and they have that interaction between them. If we didn't see this prologue, we wouldn't understand who Frank is. But to me, this whole prologue that we get is kind of weird because you don't really know what the interaction was actually. We see him go to shopping, getting some, baby stuff. So we saw the baby bottle from before. We have that little connection. So, okay, what is going on? We realize it's the same house. So maybe Frank is the mother. Obviously we don't know what is going on. And then we see him putting on some cable guy clothes and Carlos and going into this woman's house, checking it out. And again, we have the same vibes that we have with Keith, right? I had the same vibes where it's a tall man, a tiny little woman in a place where her red flags should have been up. And unlike Tess, she is apprehensive, but she doesn't react to those red flags. And he checks out the house, keeps one window open, and leaves.
Well, but also at the time, this was in the 80s.
I know.
It's a completely different mindset that they had then. Even though she is apprehensive, it looks as though like he's wearing a jumpsuit with his name on it. Clearly, if there's an issue, I can call the local water department and have him checked out. Right?
Yeah.
It's similar to, I think it's the Golden State Killer in California back in the day, where he would break into his victims' houses prior and hide weapons or like leave windows unlocked to easy for him to come back in. So I wonder if there's influence here.
It could be.
Could be.
I didn't think about it at the time. The one thing I did think about was, okay, this is kind of this tells us a little bit of a story. Like I said, it's sort of a prologue, but not really. It tells us a little bit of a story about what is going on with the house, but it doesn't really tell us what's going on with the house. It just introduces the character of Frank, which obviously becomes a little bit more influential as AJ finds out about him. But other than just connecting Frank to the house, you didn't get that story. You did get the story when the homeless guy tells them about what was going on in the house.
Well, we have that, and also
all the dots are connected.
Well, we do see AJ watching one of the videos and chastising him like a hypocrite.
Yeah, because like Frank is like AJ on steroids.
Yeah.
Like if AJ was free to do whatever he wanted to do after we find out that he actually is properly, in a sense, Me Too'd, Frank is just him, just able to get away with things.
Yeah.
And also in the flashback, as Frank goes into the house and opens the basement door with the basement door open, you can hear screaming from the basement.
Okay. I must have gone through like that. It's the whole point is actually Tess manages to get away and get out of the house. After,
which is a great shot in that, where you see Mother reaching through the window. That is a very good shot.
Problem with that, I think, is, to me, it's okay. You don't see anything like the nudity bit. Let's just say this: it's not really. It's a costume, but YouTube is being funky with it. So
yeah,
I'll just skip it. Oh, I got it. This is a good one.
Yeah. Oh, so creepy.
That whole bit. And I think they used it in the trailer, if I'm not mistaken. Feels?
In the second trailer they did.
In the second trailer.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So they have used it just to make sure there's creepy, like
There's something.
worldly creepiness going on.
Mhm.
Oh, and speaking of very creepy, the breastfeeding scene.
Well, I guess. So the first encounter with the homeless guy is Tess going out. He's like, get out of this house. Why are you going into this house? And she says, I need to get the cops. I need to get my stuff out of there. And there's a guy trapped in there. We have to go back. And he's like, do not go back. She will kill you.
Well, there's the juxtaposition between the two characters, Tess and AJ, because Tess' first thought is not getting her stuff, it's saving AJ.
Yes.
Because she already saw Keith get murdered.
Which is the opposite of what happens towards the end.
Exactly.
Where,
yeah,
AJ willing to sacrifice Tess to save his own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but in the meantime, AJ also manages to get out, but he is stuck in that labyrinth. And he finds out this whole thing with Frank.
What's interesting too is the only reason why Mother didn't go after him is because she's terrified of Frank.
She's terrified of Frank. And Frank, this whole bit was really weird. But I kind of, to me, I kind of guessed what was going on. Because when he asked for AJ to bring him his dresser closer, I was like, there's a gun in there for sure. I was like, I'm waiting for that gun to come here, but I don't know what's going to happen. And the fact that he takes the gun and instead of killing AJ, he kills himself because he is.
And the reason why he does that is because AJ tells him, I'm going to get out of here. There's going to be cops swarming all over the place. And Frank just assumes that he's finally going to be caught.
Yeah, exactly.
And he also, then AJ sees the video and chastises him again, hypocritically.
Yeah. And like I said, Tess is so unlikable. When she talks to the cops, they immediately dismiss her. It's like, it's a bad neighborhood.
Well, and also she had also been down there for at least 2 or 3 weeks, so she looks the way that she does. So she says like, I'm not a crackhead, I'm not homeless.
Yeah.
You think it's 2 or 3 weeks, not 2 days?
Well, the only reason why I say that is because they go off the timeline of Justin Long talking to the property manager, where she says there hasn't been anyone renting there for the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, I thought it was like she doesn't know somebody's renting there because both Keith and Tess had that mix up where nobody's aware that they're renting there.
It could be that too. I was going off that as a timeline, and also with how disheveled she looks too, and how grimy her clothes are and everything.
But there's a moment where she goes out, she leaves the homeless guy, and she walks down the street, and we see broken down, barreled houses like you would expect from a bad neighborhood in Detroit. Mm-hmm. Which you said they actually did film in Detroit.
Exterior shots, yeah.
So it's pretty authentic. I've seen these shots before. So yeah. And so wait. So the cops kind of relent. Right? But the problem is Tess doesn't have a key to the house. The key is downstairs where she was kept. And they're like, okay, you're not living here. Please leave. We're going to leave. They already had like an APB for something else. So they just leave. They're like, okay, you're not living here. Please vacate the premises and don't bother whoever's living here. Right. And they're gone. And it kind of leaves Tess to deal with the mother and AJ by herself. Which is a good point to stop and play our second game of the night. It is called Screen Fighter.
Round 1, fight.
Screen Fighter, for the uninitiated and for Nadia, is where we take two movies, pit them together, and see which one is the best one. There's no discernible difference between the two. Both of them are good or both of them are bad. We fall into our criteria, which is Saturday evening, Friday evening, out with the boys, out with the girls, out with their significant other. Two movies in a vacuum. Which one will we pop in? Here we go. Lethal Weapon or Monster? Now, it's going to be rough because Nadia has not seen some of these movies. However, the chat is here to give us their verdict. Nadia?
I'm going to have to go with Monster because I have not seen Lethal Weapon. I've seen the second one. I have not seen the first one.
Okay. Feelings?
I think Monster is a good film, but it's also a film. It's one of those movies where you watch it once and you get the point.
Oh, yeah.
So I definitely have to go with Lethal Weapon.
I agree. Lethal Weapon, buddy cop movie. It's Riggs and Murtaugh, and
Yep.
we're too old for this shit.
Yep.
Shoot 'em up and Charlotte's Web.
That's a
You haven't
that's a
seen
big
both?
dichotomy there.
I've seen Charlotte's Web. I don't think I've seen Shoot 'em Up. It looks familiar, so I'll have to go with Charlotte's Web.
Feelings?
Gonna have to go oddly with Shoot 'em Up because Paul Giamatti just chews scenery as a villain in that movie.
I'm gonna go with Charlotte's Web. Oddly enough,
Fair enough.
that
Shoot 'em
movie.
Up is a film like Bangkok Dangerous, where it's like, yeah, I get where you're going.
See, Shoot 'em Up is the movie that Clive Owen did because they didn't pick him to be James Bond, where he should have been James Bond. Never mind.
Yeah.
No. There's no dispute. Tucker
Oh.
and Dale versus Evil or Planet of the Apes, the original Planet of the Apes.
I've seen both of these.
Okay.
I'm going with Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I really enjoy that movie. I rewatched that movie quite a bit. I can't say I've rewatched Planet of the Apes very much as I've done Tucker and Dale.
You know what's funny, Nadia? I just introduced Meph to Tucker and Dale versus Evil this year.
I'm guessing he hated it. I'm guessing
No,
he
he
didn't
loved
like
it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I told you it's not my favorite genre, but if the story is good, the characterization is good, I'm good. Like I
Movie
liked
is
Ready or Not.
so
I actually
fun.
really liked Ready or Not.
Oh, Ready or Not's great. Yeah.
Feels?
Oh, Tucker and Dale. I mean, that movie's so fantastic. Tyler Labine is one of the best, most underrated comedy actors working today. And Alan Tudyk is just great in whatever he's in. So
Alan is like actor bacon. You just
Yeah.
add extra to it. It
It's
makes
just
it better.
fun.
Yeah.
You damn dirty apes. Tucker and Dale. I like Planet of the Apes. I don't like it that much. Mr. and Mrs. Smith or The Last of the Mohicans.
I think I've seen The Last of Mohicans in high school. They made us watch it. I'm going with Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Again, rewatchability. A little
Okay.
bit more fun.
Feels?
Completely agree with that. Sorry, The Last of Mohicans is one of those Daniel Day-Lewis films where it's like, I get it. You're a method actor.
I thought I would be alone in this. I really don't like The Last of the Mohicans.
No,
I watched it once in my life. I don't need to watch it
damn
again.
long.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith is not high art, but it's just fun.
Yeah.
So, Cold Mountain or Father of the Bride? Two
The
very
same.
different movies.
I've seen both. I'm going with Father of the Bride.
Okay.
I
Feeling?
would as well, even though I don't like that series very much. Cold Mountain is just, it's a tough watch. It's a
Mhm.
slog. It's like The English Patient. I feel the same way that Elaine feels about The English Patient, that I feel the same way about Cold Mountain.
All right. So I don't like both of these. I would watch Cold Mountain and not Father of the Bride.
Really? That's
Wow.
surprising.
Yes, I cannot. Ghost Ship or The Truman Show. Now,
Want
I
to
really-
talk about some really, really low key, way out there fucking horror films? Ghost Ship. The main reason why I remember that film so much, Nadia, is because Mudvayne had the release of their first track off their second album had just a shitload of footage from Ghost Ship in it.
Man, this is hard. So between the two, Truman Show is the better of the two overall in film, right?
Okay.
Ghost Ship is an okay horror movie. The reason why a lot of people have it on the list is the opening scene. After that, it's just
Oh yeah.
and it's not really good. So I'll pick the Truman Show. I'm sorry, horror people. Betray. I picked the Truman Show.
Feelings?
I forgot that they actually did release this on Halloween as well. I forgot that they did that.
Okay.
I would probably still have to go with Truman Show as well. Ghost Ship again. It's that first scene, the opening scene with, especially with the wire going through the entire audience. Like that's a great shot. The rest of the movie is a paint by numbers, really bad, schlocky ghost horror film. If you want to watch a horror film with that same kind of mindset, almost, the 13 Ghosts. Way
love
better.
13 Ghosts, and
The
I know
original
Netflix is
13
gonna
Ghosts?
mess it up.
They are doing that.
Doing
aren't
a
they?
series on the
Ugh.
ghosts.
The
Yeah.
original 1960s 13 Ghosts?
No, was
No.
it 2000?
Matthew
Okay,
Lillard.
that's the remake.
Yeah.
And Shannon Elizabeth was in it.
And
Okay.
what's
Worth a
his name
watch.
who plays Monk,
Monk,
in it
yeah.
too as well.
Tony Shalhoub?
Yeah, Tony
Yeah.
Shalhoub. Tony Shalhoub is Shannon Elizabeth's dad. These
That-
genetics don't match up.
It does not. Definitely does not. The Truman Show, because remember, Jim Carrey is just a dude playing the dude disguised as another dude. Holy shit. Have you seen him last week? That was. Oh, speaking of the dude playing the dude, Zodiac versus Superman.
I'm going with Zodiac here. I've seen the original Superman long time ago. Don't really remember much of it. I really liked the Zodiac. So
Okay. Feeling?
I'd rather watch Superman 2. But probably Zodiac. I don't think it's a great telling of it, but it's definitely not one of Fincher's best, but it's still better than Superman.
I would watch Superman because I've watched the Zodiac several times. I really like the story of the Zodiac and the hunt for the Zodiac, but it's not a great telling. But I'm good. I'm gonna go with you guys. One last pairing.
I despise
No.
Zoolander. Yeah,
No.
I was gonna say.
No, we're gonna go with this: Megamind or Rain Man.
Haven't
You
seen
haven't
either.
seen You haven't seen either?
Mhm.
Okay. No problem. Easy.
I've seen Sound of
No,
Music, but I haven't seen it.
No. We're not gonna go there. Along Came a Spider or Pleasantville.
I've seen both of these.
Good.
I'm going with Pleasantville on this one.
Okay. Feelings?
I would.
No, go ahead.
Nadia?
Nadia.
Oh no,
Go ahead.
I would if I had these two ready to watch right now. That's the one I would pick to go into.
Okay.
Along Came a Spider. You have to be in a mood.
Okay. Feelings?
I'm gonna have to go with The Long Came a Spider because I love thrillers. So that's
Although I do like my Morgan Freeman as Alex Cross, Pleasantville is a much better film. The concept is good and the execution is excellent. And I don't even mind Tobey Maguire in it.
okay.
And we'll leave it at that. I absolutely love Pleasantville.
All right.
It's really, really good. But again, it's sort of a mood thing. But if it's just those two on the fly, I would go to Pleasantville for sure. Right. Okay. Let's start to wrap things up. I'm going to bring this up. And so, Tess, doesn't get any love from the cops. AJ just saw Frank gets murdered, not murdered, suicide.
Unalives himself.
Yes. And Tess needs her keys because her car doesn't work. Or let's just say it works, but then she rams into the mother and then it really doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened, but it does.
Which we have again, Nadia, again, you're more attuned with horror films. We have the cliche of, it's not dead. Come on.
Which is weird because Mother, in a sense, is just a deformed human being after generations of inbreeding. So, like, that should have killed her.
Well, what I find interesting too. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it.
No, I was gonna say later when we see with the homeless man how she's able to rip his arm off, where it's like inbreeding is not known to give people superpowers. No, no. In fact, they should be genetically inferior. That's the entire point why inbreeding doesn't work.
And the whole point is when Tess goes back inside the cave, right? And AJ has the gun and she kind of half surprised. It was to me, it was predictable, same way as Frank shot himself. But yeah, I know maybe. And I think I said it to somebody. I think I'm just jaded. Maybe. I think I said
that's what you told me. Yeah.
I think I feel a little bit jaded when it comes to any movie now. It's sort of like I can tell certain beats coming, but maybe it's intentional. Maybe they were like, okay, Zach Cregger wrote it, so you would like, oh no, she's gonna go into like the mouth of the gun, and you don't even know if he is even able to shoot, but he does shoot and he hits her in the stomach. But they get away. They manage to actually get away, and they get help by none other than the homeless guy, and he tells them about this whole revelation. Now, to me, the timelines did not sit well because we're talking about start of the 80s and now we're in 2022 or maybe 2021. How many generations can you do in the span of 30 years?
Well, because he said it over 40 years from then, so maybe he had already been doing that.
Yeah.
Before. And it does make that case because when he comes back home, there's already someone down there screaming. So maybe she's already a product of one of the previous generations.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't sit well with me, but like I said, I have to go back and rewatch it just to make sure the timelines are correct. I'm pretty sure it's good. But on the first glance, it just didn't sit well with me. It worked within the confines of the story because that's what you got to see. You got to see Frank. You got to see what happened to him. And you have this mother that is, or a creature that is called mother, but it's acting in a way of it's trying to preserve let's say the females rather than the males. Because that's what it learned, right? That's what she learned throughout the years, that the males are going to die regardless because we're trying to preserve the females. At least that's what I thought.
I think it could be too that there's even a darker turn there where Frank, if the baby was born, because obviously he's not taking them to a hospital.
No.
Or he's not going to take them to an OBGYN to get an ultrasound or anything. So I'm assuming that if there was a male that was born, maybe he just flat out just killed the baby.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, where you could assume Frank is being that gruesome of a guy to do that. If he did all this, had the trouble to do all this, to do an inbred of an inbred of an inbred, why wouldn't he just toss the male into the Nile and keep the female folk, I guess. That's why I think there was 4 different cages in that
Yeah.
little alcove where
Mhm.
AJ was, doing his tape measure. And I was like, okay, this is bad. Like, this is bad. Now, she comes in, she I love it that the homeless, like, yeah, she will never come in. She never comes in here. Immediately she comes in. And
I've been out here for 20 years.
Holds
You ain't
out.
never coming this motherfucker. Immediately just murked right
This
there.
is
Dead.
where I think it falls off. The third act of this movie just completely,
Yeah.
I don't think, lives up to the expectations for the other story beats that we've led to this point. And I think it's very rushed. The whole him coming in, getting his arms ripped off, even the tower scene when they're climbing.
Yeah, and AJ, once he sees Tess, hobbling away, he literally pushes her off the tower to make sure the mother kind of goes after her and not him.
Well,
But
he actually rationalizes it. I can get away, but you're going to have to slow her down. Where you
Yeah.
can see that turn where when he's actually sitting there with Tess and the homeless man, he's actually saying, no, I have to take care of her. I have to get her to a hospital. I did something bad. And like, he's having that moment of self-reflection where you think that maybe he'll turn himself around, and he gets it like, maybe I'm a bad person. And then he turns out, yeah, no, there's no maybe about it. You are a bad person.
Yeah. And to me, that's the entire 180 that you get from the moment you see him in the car being accused into this, where you're like, okay, I'm kind of on his side because I don't know. And then we got that conversation with the dude. It was like, yeah, you're pretty much of a douchebag. And then full circle, you're an evil individual. Like within you, there's an evil person there.
But he's
and of
evil,
course-
but he's also ineffectual. That's the thing about him, like where he that's why he seems unassuming and everything, and how like weak he is as a person. How he fumbles with the gun and loses it, like he lost the knife when he was going down in the basement the first time.
And the funny part is, as soon as she fell and I like saw the mother jump in, it was like, oh, okay, I get it. That whole twist, we're like, she is a mother. She's trying. She was always kind to, like I said, to the females. Then she would definitely go and save her because she, and you can see it in the in that pit where she was feeding them the milk. Tess was receptive and AJ wasn't, which is in line with what she's used to, I guess. So of course she's going to try and save Tess. And of course that whole point of, she kind of, I can't really show a lot, but kind of is stroking her and making sure she lives. And
Well, because she just keeps saying baby, and she kisses her fingers and puts them on her forehead.
Yeah, and what Tess does, of course, after AJ is being dispatched unceremoniously, right?
The fingers into the eyes. That's a good kill.
Yeah, it's 5 seconds after this point. He gets killed because he sees her like still alive, and he guesses, well, the mother is dead, comes in, and obviously the mother is not dead. The killer comes for one last kill before the end. And you have that moment of Tess and the mother, but as soon as Tess could, bam, she shoots the gun and the mother is dead because Tess has to get away. She has to be the last girl.
And the immediate smash cut to credits in between playing Be My Baby. I was like, no, that's cheeky, Zach. Cheeky.
Yeah.
Well, like I said earlier, the mother is really the real victim entirely throughout this entire thing. Honestly, AJ is the real villain if you look at it story beats by story beats. I did not like the fact that Tess kills the mother here. I think Tess could have gotten away with everything that's happened in this third act, but I also look at it as a mercy kill almost, because what kind of life has this creature human has lived for the last 30 years or 20 years?
Well, and also to be fair, she is a murderer regardless, because really one of the penultimate the actual victims in this was Keith, because Keith didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
The red flag Keith. Everybody's the first 40 minutes, you're all worried about him, and truly he's a victim in this.
Yep.
He's not really the hero. He's just one of those.
He's an innocent victim.
Yeah. Innocent bystander.
Yeah,
he's like the if in every single one of the especially 80s slashers, this, watching like every single Friday the 13th, there's always the jokey kind of buddy in the group of teenagers that doesn't have sex, doesn't do drugs, doesn't do anything inappropriate, but still just gets violently murdered for no reason.
Yeah, he's the girl in the bikini you would expect to being dead.
Well, I mean, it speaks to also the 2022 with the Me Too. He embodies the men that are falsely accused of these things just based off their presence, the type of person they are. Even though they might come off intimidating, they're actually innocent and they're falsely accused with the red flags. So, yeah.
All right. That kind of brings us to the end. And we'll do a little bit of a summarization now. Why, I said this, why I didn't like the movie particularly. It is especially that first 40 minutes that really turned me off. And as soon as you turn me off, it's really hard for me to get back into it. There were a few things that were like,
oh, come on. Are you saying the film can't be persistent like AJ?
No.
I
did like the fact that it's not your typical conventional horror film, but it still goes through those paint by numbers horror film. I wouldn't say slasher, because it sort of supports the unnaturalness, because of there's sort of a beast, a monster kind of a thing element to it. But only at the end you realize it's not really a monster. So this whole story is actually grounded in reality. It's not supernatural at all. Mm-hmm. It's just like the homeless guy said, it's a copy of a copy of a copy because of inbred. So it's not really a person. It has lost its humanity, I would say. So it is a monster, but it's not really a monster. She lashes out, but she has a good reason to lash out. So it's really grounded in actual reality. But when you get to that point, you've already lost me at this point. At least that was my experience, where I found interesting bits to see it. I thought the whole having to see AJ as this Hollywood douche nozzle, tape measuring the obvious burrow that is behind, under the house, that you should not be in, and all he does is thinking about the money. It's it fits the character, and I think it's a great idea, but at the end it didn't even lead anywhere. And at the third act, the most interesting thing is AJ doing his final turn, where you would expect him to do that final turn if you didn't, because he's an ass. He's an evil guy. And it just gives you that final nail in the coffin. And that final nail in the coffin gave sort of an okay for Mother to unceremoniously dispatch him, mm-hmm. as her final act of freeing herself. And the ultimate freeing herself is Tess sending her to the afterlife. So that's my Barbarian. Feelings, please share with us.
Actually, Nadia, please.
Nadia. Okay, Nadia.
I love this movie.
Okay.
Again, I think it's one of the best horror movies to come out in 2022. I think it speaks a lot to the Me Too movement and how it had progressed. I like the creature design of it. I went in when the first watch, I didn't know the twist at all, which is refreshing when you get something like that. My problems lie with the third act, with the when they finally, in a sense, kill the monster in it. It felt very horror tropey to me. Obviously, her coming back after being killed, crashed in with the car, saving the final act with Tess. But I think before that point, the first two acts are fantastic. I think it's written very well. I think the dialogue uses very well. And you really are invested in these characters. You really turn on AJ, finding him to be a douchebag. Tess is unlikable, but I mean, she's the final girl in this. And on the rewatch, I think I had way more sympathy for Mother than the initial watch. I just think she's just a creature. Rewatching it and then seeing the backstory to it made me feel a lot more sympathy for her. So
Okay. Feelings?
I really agree with Nadia on a couple of points there. I do think of 2022, this was probably one of the best horror films that came out that year. Actually, of this decade, it's one of the best. But really, especially films that are based, oddly, for horror films that are based in Detroit, it's top of the list up there.
Along with It Follows.
It Follows, Evil Dead 2.
Which doesn't need a sequel, which is getting a sequel, but
yeah,
I gets a sequel.
Yeah,
why?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no point in it because it's supposed to be this omnipresent thing that's going to follow you forever until it murders you. There's no point in retelling the story that we've already seen. Just essentially, it's going to be what different characters, I would assume.
Same thing with Smile. Smile 2 didn't need to happen, to be honest. Yeah.
Is it the other one is Only Lovers Left Alive? The majority of that's in Detroit, that's another good movie. And Don't Breathe.
Oh, yes. Don't
Which
Breathe
I
is
think
good.
you had me write it on my list, right?
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Don't Breathe is great again until the third act, in my opinion, where it's
the turn on the third act was really unsettling.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that.
Which in a lot of ways, Frank reminds me of the main character. Well, the protagonist of Don't Breathe. Kind of.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't go into it because I haven't seen it.
Oh, you're not gonna like it.
I'm not gonna like it. Well,
I don't think you will.
I don't think you're gonna like it.
It's fine. I've got a long list of things that I still have to watch.
Well, if you like one that's a little bit better, that's a little bit more lighter fare, Meth. Darkman.
Darkman's good.
Darkman.
What do you mean?
Darkman.
Like Darkman with Liam Neeson?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've seen it.
Yeah. Well,
I've
watch
seen
it
it
again.
many
It's based
times
in Detroit.
Oh, it's based on. I
Yeah.
don't even remember.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. But yeah, I've seen it many times. I like it. I always thought people give it a bad rap because it's sort of a not what do you. It's one of those comic book movies that were like done way too early, and nobody knows the Darkman character because it's not a well-known like a comic book. And the movie's good.
And for the longest time,
great like makeup effects.
And for the longest time, it had a really bad kind of. A lot of people conflated that with Dark City at the same time because they came out around the same time.
Yeah.
So they didn't really they worked almost sort of in tandem against each other. And when we covered Dark City, it was a little bit better because we were like, oh, so basically the Wachowskis just stole this movie and made Matrix.
All right, cool. That is it for us today. I want to thank our guest, Nadia. Nadia, please tell us where people can find you.
First of all, before I get into that, thank you guys for having me. This was so much fun. I'd love to come back on future episodes with horror movies. Love to. I run a horror channel called Horror with Nads. I do a Tuesday segment live where I talk about news in the horror genre, both movie, TV, video games. And then I do movie breakdowns, trailer reactions on my channel. And right after this, within an hour or so, I'll be on Films Comics Explained talking about Alien. So that should be fun.
Awesome. So you've seen Alien for the first time
this
few
year.
weeks
I've
ago?
seen all of them, Prometheus all the way to Romulus, all of them. So
Oh, okay. Cool.
Hey, Meth,
What?
should I ask her opinion about Jonesy?
No. Nobody cares. You're the only
I
one.
hate Jonesy. The cat is
You're the
evil
only one.
why do you hate the cat?
because the cat got somebody murdered.
That's true. I actually did a watch party on my channel, and I'm like, why are you going back for the cat? Stop with the cat. Like, just let it go.
That's why he hates the cat. It's not about the cat. It's what the cat represents. Stupidity.
In all honesty, I watched the second one, and I was the same way with the kid too. I was like,
Oh,
know this kid.
No. Oh,
but I didn't have the background story about because I didn't watch the director's cut. I watched some cut where you don't get the Ripley background story of her losing her daughter and stuff to play. So that means something as opposed to just going in and be like, okay, we don't know who this kid is and stuff. So
it's okay. I've never seen the director's cut either.
Okay.
And
Well, all I know is mostly
it
people
was
like
pretty
that
obvious
kid.
to me, but I'm what? Sorry?
Mostly kids, people like that kid. Mostly.
Anyway,
That's a reference.
for the rest of you guys in the chat, before we send you off to Pop Culture Minefield, they are covering Werewolf in London, American Werewolf in London. Next week, we are covering Cabin in the Woods, which is a movie that I've first watched last year because of All My Feelings and the fact that I did the 31 movies at 31 Days of October. We're gonna have Horror Amarada coming in and talking to us about it because
that's gonna be fun.
That's perfect.
this movie is surprisingly really good.
It is. It's a sleeper. A lot of people slept on it. Yeah.
It's surprisingly really good because it sends you there and then it sends you there.
H.P. Lovecraft fan.
About it. But we're going to talk about it next week. And until next week, ladies and gentlemen, remember, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. We'll see you next week.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.